Okay. Barry, would you like to get us started?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Marty. My name's Barry Buchanan. I'm the chair of the Whatcom County Council and kind of the founder of the Justice Project back in 2017. And I am here to welcome you and welcome you to the JPOP process. And I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we will uh, really work together to get good results out of our work, I'm sure. So again, welcome everyone. And Marty, I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Okay, I've got Holly coming in here. She was having trouble with her Verizon connection. So let's give her a minute to arrive. And thanks, Barry, for getting us going. Mm,
Looked like she was on and then dropped off.
and then dropped.
Oh,
Okay.
there she is.
Can you see me now?
There
Yeah.
you are.
Great.
So Barry just called the meeting to order, and since you're here, you get to start with the agenda review.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. I'm Holly O'Neill. Sorry about that. Um, I don't know if Marty introduced us yet, but we're a local facilitation team who've been helping out with the Justice Project, and I live in East County, and sometimes all of our services just evaporate. So I'm in my car, and I'll support you from here. Uh, but anyway, great to see you. I'm so glad you're all willing to do this project with us. So we're going to go through, have some introductions from everybody in the room, and then have some time just talking about the history of the project and where we are today. Then we'll move into the role of the JPOP committee and review the draft charter and rules of procedure, which we don't need to approve today, but we want to just make sure everybody sees it and that we have time for people to ask questions and make suggestions. Same thing with the committee chair and co-chairs. We want to elect somebody at our next meeting in November, but at least talk about what those are. Then we'll do some next steps and public comment. So that's the plan for today. Any questions? Okay, great. So a couple of things for the logistics. We really appreciate it if you can keep your Zoom or your video on as much as possible, so it feels more like we're in one meeting. Keep yourself muted except when speaking, and that's just to avoid the background noise. I think as Marty probably already mentioned, these are open public meetings, so they're recorded, and then the recording and the notes go up on the IPRTF website, so you can review them, or if you miss a meeting, then you can, catch up pretty easily. And lastly, when we're in this kind of open discussion mode, which will be a lot, just use your raise hand button to be recognized to speak. So why don't we all practice that? Can you all find, Zoom has changed a little bit, so it's the heart at the bottom of your screen. So open up, let's practice. Everybody, good look at you guys, experts. Okay, everybody raising their hand and then practice putting it back down, which means you just click it again. Yep, good. Okay, if at any point we don't have chat going on because of the Open Public Meeting Act, the OPMA, it all has to be visible, so we can't really do chat very easily. So if you get confused, you can also just email Marty or I after the meeting and we'll walk you through anything that's not working. Okay. The other thing is that I wanted to mention is we will have guests here, right? We don't have this where you've got just the JPOP and then we have like that waiting room in the back. You're all in one meeting. So if you're a guest here, you're very welcome. If you have something, a question comes up in the meeting and you have the information the whole group needs, you do this little signal, like raise your hand and do this. And if you have the info, we'll know to call on you so you can like pop in and share the information we don't have. Otherwise, just go ahead and save your comments till the end of the meeting if you're not actually an assigned person on the JPOP. Okay, so those are the basics. And next slide. Okay, so I'm going to invite folks from the Justice Project Planning Team to introduce themselves and just tell you a little bit about their involvement. And really, this Justice Project Planning Team is a coordination body. So it's people who've been working on the project for a while, from the needs assessment to the implementation plan to now we're in this phase 3, right, of really putting it into motion. And so these folks are meeting twice a month to just make sure we're keeping all the pieces coordinated. So I'm going to ask them to just introduce themselves. So Barry, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I've kind of already introduced myself, but what I'll add is that this is the group that we formed to, as Holly mentioned, to put this whole project forward. And we really felt it was important to keep consistency from stakeholder advisory committee process all the way through the implementation plan process, and then now through this process of putting together the various oversight mechanisms and everything that we had in the ordinance. So that's what I just wanted to share a little bit about kind of what this group has been doing, and we, because we have new co-chairs on the IPTRF, but otherwise it's a consistent group that is works very well together.
Great, thanks, Barry. Okay, so and you've seen Marty and I, we're here to support you in your process. That's our job. Help making sure the meetings are facilitated and the notes get taken and things get from point A to point B. We're your resource people if you get stuck. Marty, anything you want to add?
No, I had not introduced myself before, so just say again, I am Marty, and yeah, exactly what Holly said. We're here to support your process, and most of the emails will be coming from my email, as they have been. And let us know if you have any questions about anything along the way. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Okay, Heather Flaherty, you ready to introduce yourself? Is Heather here?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, Peter, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. My name is Peter Frazier. I am the co-chair with Heather Flaherty of the Incarceration Prevention Reduction Task Force. We're fairly new at our chair positions, and when we came into the position in the beginning of this year, we made this our #1 priority, was integrating and launching JPOP well. And so I very much thank you for participating.
Great, thank you. Stephen?
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephen Gockley. Currently, I'm the co-chair of the Behavioral Health Subcommittee with City Council President Dan Hamill for the IPRTF. I'm also, as you saw on the prior screen, or on this screen, on the planning team. I was an original member of the task force and termed out after 8 years, the last 5 of which I was co-chair with my colleague Jack Hovenier, who's also here on the planning team, and happily turned that over to Heather and Peter at the beginning of this year. So I'm not an official member of the JPOP. I'm sort of here as institutional memory and as a planning team member, just to stay abreast of the work you all do here.
Great. Thank you, Stephen. Glad you're here. Okay, Kayla, is Kayla here?
No, we don't have Kayla or Jed, but we have Satpal.
Oh, great. Great. Satpal, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining this effort. This is very important for our new jail as well as the whole justice system project. My name is Satpal Sidhu. I'm the Whatcom County Executive. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Sidhu. I'm really glad you're here. All right. Was Jack here? Jack Ovenier?
No, Jack, Jill, and Jenna were not going to attend today, but they are members of the planning team, very important members of the planning team, and they're with us in spirit.
Great. Okay, so that's the planning team. So now let's hear from everybody and have a minute to just see who's in the room. So I'll call on you and you can share your name and your organization and your role within the organization and just a few words about what excites you about being on the JPOP committee. Like, what are you hoping for? Okay. So let's start with Tasha. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Tasha Dykstra. I am a detective with the Linden Police Department. And what excites me is I had a great time working on the campaign for the new jail that we did last year. I worked with Peter and Barry and several others. It was a great collaboration with people from all walks of life to get the new jail tax so that we could move forward with this project. And I look forward to seeing a new jail built, hopefully before I retire from law enforcement.
Great, thanks. And Richard, you're up. And you're muted. Can you?
I am. My name is Richard Gleason. I am a concerned citizen, somebody that comes from all walks of life, and I'm looking forward to seeing good change is all. That's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So glad you're here. All right, Rob Sullivan, you're up.
Rob Sullivan, Pioneer Human Services, and I'm the Director of Whatcom Community Detox. I think what excites me is just looking at what services and how we can help our community members in Whatcom County.
Fantastic, thank you, Rob. Hannah Sloan.
Yeah, I'm Hannah Sloan. I'm working with Lifeline Connections right now. I am the program director for our Behavioral Health and Reentry Services program at the Whatcom County Jail and Juvenile Detention, as well as our community-based programs like PACT and New Journeys in our outpatient facilities. And I'm just excited to continue to be a part of the improvement and expansion of these justice systems and community behavioral health systems to support our most vulnerable individuals. So thank you for having me.
Wonderful, thank you. And Hannah Fisk.
Hi, I'm Hannah Fisk, Whatcom County Health and Community Services. I'm a Special Projects Manager. I'm excited to just make sure that behavioral health needs are thought about throughout this entire process.
Excellent, thank you. Doreen.
Hello, my name is Doreen Vargas. I'm a Lummi tribal member, and I represent for the Lummi Nation tribe, and I work as a child consultation team facilitator, which I advocate and speak for our elders, tribal elders of children that are being looked at for the child welfare. So I mediate and work as an advocate for our tribal elders. And I have been the chairwoman of the Grandparents Committee for the Lummi Nation for the past 15 years. I work with many families that that may be or exiting incarceration, the men's reentry home, and they're all working to gain custody of their children back. So I work and oversee those types of programs. Thank you. I'm excited to be on this too, and I know that since I've let it be known that I will be part of this committee, the community has been excited because I am a very outspoken and honest person of the Lummi Nation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, Jason.
Hello, my name is Jason Corneliuson. I am with the City of Bellingham. I am the new Strategic Initiatives Manager for Health and Human Services. Today is my second day on the job, so I am brand new, but I'm very excited to be here in this brand new position. I come from a background of therapeutic court program management and housing in the nonprofit sector. So I'm really excited to use my experience to do some project management and seeing some projects through that will bring improvements to the lives of people in Bellingham. This is a city I love very much.
Awesome. Great. Trevor?
Good afternoon. My name is Trevor Eretz. I'm an independent practitioner, licensed mental health and substance use dependence counseling, member of Associates in Mental Health, working here in Bellingham. And I joined JPOP as a behavioral health provider, primarily because I've been working individually with community members from all walks of life for the better part of a decade. And I was really interested in taking on a little bit more of a systemic role and seeing how these kinds of programs work within our communities and see how my skill set might be helpful in advancing them and serving our population even better. Thank you very much.
Great. Glad you're here. Thanks, Trevor. Pam?
Hello, everybody. My name is Pam Kahn, a behavioral health clinician at Citygate Apartments at this moment. Citygate is a supportive housing apartment complex, so I'm hoping to bring some of my years of expertise in working with folks in that process of going from unhoused to housed. It has a lot of moving parts and a lot to consider, and it's very important, I think, as a community that we're keeping all those things in mind as we have that hope of getting people out of homelessness and into housed, because there's a lot of support that needs to happen in order for that to be successful. So I'm really excited to be a part of this process and contribute what I can. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Okay, Stark?
Sorry, I didn't have my mute button teed up. Yeah, my name is Stark Follis, and I'm the director of the Whatcom County Public Defender's Office. And, I guess I'm excited that my role here is to, not only be an advocate for our clients in terms of what this project is going to look like and to make sure that the promises that were made to the public prior to the vote are carried through. But also an advocate for the attorneys and investigators and social workers in our office in terms of being able to get better access to their clients who are incarcerated and being able to get them the services that they need while they're in there. So I'm happy to be the representative of the Public Defender's Office on this project.
Great. Glad you're here. Thank you. Roman?
Good afternoon, you guys. Thank you guys all for being here today. My name is Roman Solanosat, Lieutenant of Nooksack Tribal Police Department. I also serve on the Nooksack Tribal Council as well too. And I just kind of look forward on, seeing what the new jail facility is going to look like and see what we can offer. Thank you guys.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, Scott, you're up.
Hi, Scott Rickman, City of Bellingham Fire Department. I'm the Division Chief of Emergency Medical Services. Really excited to be here. I'm interested in seeing how we can work together to reduce recidivism, hopefully get services to a lot of our underserved folks that are going back into the jail and hopefully have better outcomes for the public. So really excited to be here working with y'all.
Great. Thank you. Fantastic. Okay, Tank, you're up.
Yes, and good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Donnell Tanksley, the Sheriff of Whatcom County Sheriff's Office. I'm excited to see that the Justice Project is just not only building the jail, but it's also about behavioral health. It's about public health. It's about reducing incarceration, increasing alternatives, improving systems and processes, and taking a look at the different outcomes that these systems have. So I just want everyone to keep in mind that it's much bigger than just building a jail. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Kim?
Well, I love Hank's prompt to all of us to remember the full scope of the work around the Justice Project. And data is part of my love language. Data excites me. And so part of our work will be to measure our progress. How are we doing? What is our plan for accountability? Stark mentioned, how do we uphold our promises that we've made to the public and to each other as this has come to fruition? And so I'm excited to build trust alongside all of you and with all the members of Whatcom County as we create a plan for accountability and measure outcomes.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right, Dan.
Dan Hamill, Bellingham City Council President, co-chair of the Behavioral Health Committee for the Task Force, permanent member on the task force. Background is in housing and behavioral health. Everything that the mayor just said and everything that the sheriff just said, I echo completely. I think we have a once in a lifetime opportunity to get this right. And so that's why I'm here today and for the rest of the time. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Caleb.
Hello, my name is Caleb Erickson. I'm the Chief Corrections Deputy for the Sheriff's Office. I've been involved in a lot of different aspects of the Justice Project, including consulting for some of the future ideas and so forth. I'm really excited about the potential. I get, my glass is generally half full, so I'm excited for the potential for what is to come. We're laying foundation for programs and services that are going to start now and carry us through for the next 4 years until the building is created. And there's just a lot of hope for me on the horizon. So I'm really, really excited to be involved. I'm not sure that I'm officially a member of the JPOP, but I'm here to help if there's anything I can lend.
Great. Hey, thank you, Caleb. So glad you're here. Iris?
Hi, I'm Iris Knott. I'm the Legislative Policy Analyst for the City of Bellingham, and I'm usually a guest in these meetings, so I am usually in the background. But I am here to help support my council and then just keep abreast of everything that's happening, and I'm excited to see the progress that's made over the time.
Awesome. Thank you, Iris. Glad you're here. Miriam.
Hi, everyone. My name is Miriam Karamoko. I am the Executive Director of the Whatcom Racial Equity Commission. I took on this role about 2 months ago. I'm not new necessarily to Whatcom County, but I've moved back to Whatcom County. I'm really excited to be here. I was invited in this space. What I hope to add on is really making sure that we are centering the people most affected by our justice system in our implementation. So making sure that they continue to be centered in how we implement this. So thank you for having me.
Great. Glad you're here. Thank you. And Heather.
Hi, everybody. My name is Heather Flaherty. I am the co-chair of the Incarceration Task Force and really excited to be in this space. My day job is as the executive director of the Chuckanut Health Foundation. There's a beautiful concept from Adrienne Marie Brown about there's a conversation in the room that only these people can have, so let's find it. And that's what's exciting to me about JPOP is that there's just this really unique group of individuals that gets to have this historic opportunity to shape the justice system in Whatcom County. So I'm excited to be here with all of you.
Fantastic. That was so inspiring. Heather, thank you. Perfect. Okay. Well, I agree. I feel so excited that we're finally here in this moment with all of you. It's just phenomenal. I cannot tell you how long we've been waiting for this moment. So thank you. Thank you all for being here. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Barry, and we're going to talk a little bit about the history of the Justice Project. So, Marty, you want to pull up the screen? Unless is there something?
I do. Yeah, I just wanted to double check that there's nobody in the conference room who we might have missed. I don't think there is, but if there is, speak up. Okay, I think we're good to go, and I will get.
Oh, you just muted, but Barry, we're gonna go ahead and have
Well,
you.
but before we get into that, I just want to say what a fantastic outstanding table this is. I am just so impressed with all of you and your credentials and your dreams for this committee that I got goosebumps. So, and that's no lie. Anyway, again, welcome. And I'm just going to take you through a real brief history of the Justice Project. Kind of some things that preceded us was, back in 1983, that's when the state was paying for jails. The state came with a basic cookie cutter design, and we plopped the thing that's there down, basically. After that, there was a long period of time until they thought that there needed to be some improvements. There was a measure for juvenile detention facilities and a jail, and that measure failed back in 97. The then Law and Justice Council, this is before the the Incarceration Prevention Task Force was part of that group. They recommend construction in 2000 of a new jail. And then voters did approve a tax measure in 2004, which went to fund our minimum security, or what we call now the work center, which opened in 2006. There was a lot of conversation about a new facility that took place, and there was this some task force that were formed, and kind of the output of that was the county purchased some land out in Ferndale, the LaBounty property, and we've held on to that ever since. The council created the IPTRF in 2015, right when there was a sales tax measure on the ballot. It might have been slightly after even, but the sales tax measure in 2015 and 17 both failed. The first one narrowly, the second one was defeated pretty soundly. So there was a lot of work to be done, and there was a lot of rethinking about how we approach this. Next slide, please. So the real first and the genesis of the Justice Project as we know it today was the listening series. And I'll say that idea developed when I leaned my head into then council member Satpal Sidhu's office after we had one of our committee meetings. And I said, you know what we need to do? And we both said the words exactly at the same time to each other. We said a listening session. And so Satpal and I were, along with Councilmember Byrd, were on that team that went around the county listening to what our residents, thought of what the plans that didn't make the voter cut, and how they felt about it. And the most common answer we got out of all demographics was, we believe that in treatment over punishment whenever possible. That was the kind of the big takeaway was. And so at that point, we needed a work plan. So the council actually developed in 2019, we developed a resolution that was a 14-step planning document that really set the work plan forward for the Justice Project. One of the big shifts in 2019 is the task force, Incarceration Prevention Reduction Task Force, also is serving as the Law and Justice Council. It just made sense to pair that work of the Law and Justice Council with the task force. And then, of course, the task force, one of its primary objectives was to open the Crisis Stabilization Center, or the Ann Deacon Center for Hope, as it's called. In 2021, that opened. And then we had that lull kind of between actually 2019 and 2021. That's COVID, but we had some efforts planned with a consultant that really just fell through in March of 2020. So we resurrected that work back in 2022 with the Stakeholder Advisory Committee that many of us in this space were on. And we worked for a full year, January to January. And then we shifted into implementation. We wanted to have a plan that took those values, community values, by the way, because this was a community-led process. There was 39 members of the Stakeholder Advisory Committee, and a very high percentage of them were just community members. So the implementation plan was was completed by adoption of the ordinance that's listed here on the slide, and that is where the JPOP was created, in that ordinance, along with the Finance Advisory Committee. Then the voters approved the 0.2 sales tax for the new jail. That happened in last election cycle in November, and we were off and running. So when we get to 2024, this is just kind of a picture of how things are organized as a result of that ordinance and the passage of those funds. We have the same relationships that we had between the steering committee and the IPTRF and the county council and executive's office and so on. But we added these two new committees, the JPOP down, which is now a subcommittee of the IPTRF, and then also the Justice Project Finance and Facility Advisory Board, which has also had their first meeting. I'm on that committee as well. So that's a whirlwind kind of from the 80s to present, how we got here. And Holly, I'll turn it back to you. Actually, I'll turn it to Stephen, because Stephen's going to tell us a little bit about his, IPTRF. Stephen?
Thanks, Barry. Barry indicated the two initiatives in 2015 and 2017 in which a proposed tax measure to fund a new jail were both defeated. And the chronology of that is important because the task force was created by County Council ordinance in 2015, shortly after that first rejection of a new jail and a funding mechanism for that. And that was a very hotly debated proposal, if anybody remembers that. And there were intense disputes over the size and over the proposed location and the Ferndale site. But one of the other topics of dispute was a pretty widespread feeling that we got from the community debate that the county was too focused on incarceration and had not really explored whether there were alternatives to incarceration that could put incarceration in an appropriate context of diversion and treatment more directed toward root causes of criminal activity, for which we had very little alternative but to put people in jail. So the task force was created with a specific charge to review the criminal justice system, to review our behavioral health programs throughout the county community, to use evidence-based and best practices to analyze alternatives to incarceration, to make specific recommendations that were focused in two particular areas. One was to look at the issue of incarceration of individuals who were struggling primarily with mental illness and substance use disorders, which underlay any criminal activity which might come as a consequence or as a corollary of those health conditions. And the second was to look at racial disparities in the system of incarceration. Data showed that they were there, and for us to try to reduce those, again, using evidence-based best practices. And lastly was to note from data that we had a high portion of our jail population that were pretrial defendants. That is, they had been charged, but they had not been found guilty of any crimes, and yet they were forced to stay in the jail, mostly for economic reasons, because the only tool that was used for pretrial release at the time, for the most part, was imposition of bail. And for people with limited economic means, they had no way to make bail, so they stayed in jail. So we were charged with focusing on whether there were alternatives to that kind of pretrial detention that was filling the jail to a large extent. And I want to note here that early on, the task force, because of the, as I said, the heated debate over the 2015 new jail proposal, the task force consciously limited itself to alternatives to incarceration. We did not take up issues of the jail itself, jail conditions, new jail, size of jail. Any jail issues were largely beyond our scope, other than looking at alternatives that could decrease jail utilization and lead to as limited a use of incarceration as a last resort as possible. The Law and Justice Council is a mandate under state law. You see there the reference to the revised Code of Washington section that establishes that, calls for that, for every county to establish a Law and Justice Council. It had been dormant for quite a while, but its role was to advise county office holders on jail and other criminal system needs and proposals. And so we looked at the statute, we looked at the minimum required membership on a Law and Justice Council that the state statute called for. And we saw that there was tremendous overlap in what the statute required and the membership that we had created for the Incarceration Prevention Reduction Task Force. And we decided that we should reinvigorate a Law and Justice Council, that we should make that sort of contiguous with the IPRTF. And so, as Barry indicated, I think it was 2019, we reincorporated the Law and Justice Council for Whatcom County and made that coextensive with the task force. The task force has already had a significant impact in its work. We have done a lot of exploration, a lot of discussion, a lot of research, and quite a number of things have come out of that. As Barry indicated, the Crisis Stabilization Center, which was a focus of our original charge, which has been renamed the Ann Deacon Center of Hope, was built on Division Street up in the Iron Gate area. And it has contributed to remediation of a problem where people suffering mental health or substance use disorder crises on the street. Previously, law enforcement only had the emergency room at Peace Health St. Joseph's or the jail to take people to. The Crisis Stabilization Center was the first piece of an alternative intervention kind of step for law enforcement and EMS first responders to be able to deal with those on the street crises. The GRACE program was developed after considerable study within the task force to provide a ground level first responder kind of process, a non-law enforcement kind of process. It worked with EMS also to respond to emergencies and to coordinate treatment responses to those needs. The LEAD program is a similar kind of early intervention, diversion kind of response. This coordinates more with law enforcement and the prosecutor's office as opposed to GRACE coordinating with emergency medical services and first responders. And so those are both diversion and then coordinated social service navigational assistance kinds of programs. In 2020, with some of the community activation in response to Black Lives Matter and so forth, there was a considerable interest in looking at non-law enforcement interventions to what were essentially health crises in the community. And the city of Bellingham explored and created an alternative response team that has a non-law enforcement kind of response. We looked at trying to make that countywide, and that was not completely practical given the distances, the response times, and the volatility of some of those programs. So there is a coordinated response program coming out of the sheriff's office that pairs a behavioral health specialist with law enforcement response to emergency needs out in the community. We have expanded and subsidized in-home detentions, electronic home monitoring. We also found funding and were able to renovate and create clean and sober housing on DuPont Street that supports therapeutic court models that we had. We had no sort of safe place for people who were going through the drug court, now the recovery court program, and we created that, which has helped to support those people on their successful trajectory to recovery. And lastly, the task force was sort of the instigator, as Barry indicated, of the Justice Project, beginning with the Stakeholder Advisory Committee, the creation of the implementation plan, and then now the oversight of the implementation plan, of which the JPOP is one piece. So that's how we got to this point. It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of people invested in it, and some really rich community-based leadership.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Stephen. And thank you for just all of the years of your time. Both you and Jack have put so much into keeping things moving forward, and your leadership has been extraordinary. So thank you so much for that. Okay, so we're going to move on then and by the way, after we hear this about the implementation plan, we'll make a little space if people have questions so we can see if there's anything you'd like to ask about. And now we're going to hear from our IPRTF co-chairs, so Peter Frazier and Heather Flaherty, who are going to go through the essence of the Justice Project Needs Assessment Implementation Plan. So Heather or Peter, do you want to start us out?
Sure, I'll start us out. And Heather, you pop in here with anything that you want to address as I go through it. I just wanted to also say, because I didn't get a chance to say what makes me excited about this being here, I just want to say that I was part of the campaign, the Yes, Safe Jail, Healthy Outcomes campaign for the successful levy. And I went around the county talking with just hundreds and hundreds of people. And they all wanted to know what was the oversight mechanism for this levy. How was it that we knew that we were going to get a good product? And the JPOP is a big part of that, along with the Finance and Facilities Committee. So thanks so much for being part of it. So back to the Justice Project Needs Assessment Implementation Plan. It's really a comprehensive roadmap that addresses the gaps and the challenges in our criminal legal system and our behavioral health services. It outlines the specific projects, 15 of them, and projects and strategies to improve public health, safety, and justice through system changes, service expansions, and developing new facilities. And so the plan prioritizes reducing incarceration rates, particularly for individuals with mental health and substance use disorders. And it also promotes accountability and rehabilitation, of course, and includes detailed action steps. There's budget estimates, and there are oversight mechanisms like what we're doing here to make sure that we have transparency and we make progress and we create the humane and efficient and supportive justice system that I know that voters voted for in last November. So there are 15 projects. I'm going to go through each one, but generally they come from 15 strategies, and they're right here in front of you. Ensuring oversight and accountability and transparency, and that's what we're doing here. Strategy 2 is increasing access to behavioral health services. And strategy 3 is build facilities needed to promote public health, safety, and justice. Strategy 4, expand the capacity of programs to reduce incarceration and reincarceration. And strategy 5 is to make systems changes with local, regional, state, and federal partners. And I encourage you to get very familiar with this document. I mean, this is what we're going to, all of our work is going to be circling around. And it's a very interesting document. A lot of work went into it, and it's very readable. And I'm putting myself out there here to answer any questions or find out the answers to them if you have any. The projects in the implementation plan were chosen really through a very collaborative and community-driven process. And it had input from really a very diverse group of stakeholders throughout the community. These folks were, members of the IPRTF, as we've heard about, the Stakeholder Advisory Committee, which in itself was a very diverse committee. I was fortunate enough to have been chosen to be on that. A very interesting process. And then there were public participants from a variety of community groups and folks with lived experience in the justice system, behavioral health professionals, tribal members, immigrant communities, frontline workers. I'm very proud of that work that our community did. And generally, the projects were chosen through for data-driven needs assessment. A lot of work went into looking at all the resources that we have in Whatcom County, and then doing a gap analysis, and then and this came out of that work partly, and then of course all the community input, and there was this real focus on public health and safety. There were workshops held, stakeholder engagement was done. The projects went through a filter of feasibility and impact, because we can't do everything. We don't have the money to do everything, but which projects could we pull off? And each has a different timeline as well, as you'll see as you go through the document. And there was very much a balanced approach applied. Community safety and healthy outcomes being a big part of that balance. And it's really our North Star, this implementation plan. I refer to it constantly. It's an every day, every week thing in the work that we're doing here. And it's all to create a safer and healthy community and improve the justice system and support services and prevent people ultimately from becoming justice involved in the first place. And each project each of these 15 projects has people working on them throughout Whatcom County government, committees of the IPRTF, and providers throughout Whatcom County.
Great. Okay. Marty, do you want to just go through I don't think Peter, you didn't want to go through each goal, but maybe we should just flash them through on the screen. Marty, do you want to do
You mean each of the projects?
Yeah, I'm sorry, each of the projects, yeah.
Sure, we can go through them. Heather, is that something you would like to do, or Marty? I was afraid that we would do a deep dive on all these, but
Yeah, we just thought it'd be nice. I assume everybody has memorized that implementation plan, got it to heart, right? No, this is just a little freshening up of what it is. So
sure. Should I read through them?
Yeah.
Or okay. All right. Well, the first one is establish the JPOP, and by gosh, we've done that, and that is we are meant to be very much a sounding board and an accountability body made up of very importantly of people with lived experience and frontline workers and such. Number 2 is establish Justice Project Finance and Facility Advisory Board, which has had its first meeting. I believe it was last month, and Heather and I are on that one as well. And 3 is to collect data to measure progress toward desired outcomes and develop a data dashboard. If you don't have the data, you don't know where you're navigating. It's critical for us to have good data, know what our measures are, and make sure that we're spending our money and our efforts in the correct places. Next slide. Address workforce shortages in behavioral health services. We have had a critical shortage of people wanting to go into behavioral health, working with justice-involved populations. And fortunately, it seems like things might be loosening up, but that pipeline of people coming into the workforce is critical for us to make our goals. Number 5, build systems to facilitate communication and coordination between organizations providing services for a seamless continuum of care. That's a lot of words to say something that is very complex but simple at the same time. We need people who are working with justice-involved population to all be working together, communicating with one another, and we have a very siloed system here of service provision for folks, and there's often with silos, you simply don't get good coordination and communication. And there are various reasons for that, both institutional and through HIPAA laws and such. But that is something that we're really needing to move forward with, is better coordination, breaching the silos and such. Number 6, increase the capacity of effective existing programs to divert people from incarceration in tandem with treatment services and community infrastructure. We've made a really good start here in Whatcom County, but there is a long way to go, and diversion is from jail is critical for all sorts of reasons coming down the pike. So number 7 is build a 23-hour crisis relief center. Fortunately, we have money from the legislature and elsewhere to move forward with this. Design and implementation is on its way. 8, build a new jail and behavioral health treatment center to provide secure detention and an array of rehabilitation services and diversion options. This is a big one. This is where half of that levy spending is going to be going, and the other half will be for public safety and behavioral health spending throughout the county. Number 9, identify what additional, and I should just say, this 8 is a big one for JPOP, just huge. We're touching all parts of these projects, but number 8 is obviously a big one. It's the largest capital spend that Whatcom County's ever done. Number 9, identify what additional facilities are needed to support people with behavioral health and substance use disorder issues at risk of incarceration. That is, boy, that's a very important one. We are planning and building a number of facilities and campuses, and we want to do it right each and every time. So these are important things that we're weighing in on. Next slide, 10. Ensure people leaving detention and treatment facilities have transportation to a safe destination. Here in Whatcom County, we have a health department that is already working on this. WTA, our bus service, is on board as well once we have our campus and our jail facility ready. 11, bolster reentry support services, including establishing locations where people can receive coordinated reentry support services. One thing I will note is that many of us on this call have been to see a number of really very good new jail and behavioral care centers in the United States. There are really good models that are out there that we want to adopt and bring here and make our own here in Whatcom County. And this is a very important part of that. And the people at Lifeline Connections are critical in our reentry. 12, maintain and expand supportive housing programs for people with behavioral health issues and history of incarceration. Housing is so important to solving so many of our problems in this county, and this is a difficult but very important part of the whole housing puzzle that we're going to be working on. Continue to make changes in the court systems to reduce the number of people in jail and the length of time they're detained before trial, and evaluate the bail system. This is a big one. The court systems, our prosecutors, our public defenders. It's a very interesting but very complex system. There are a number of a lot of changes and things that we can do there to improve those systems and make sure that we speed people along appropriately through the system and keep people out of jail when it is safe to do so. Number 14, expedite access to competency restoration services. Competency restoration is to stand trial. One needs to be competent to do so. If one is found incompetent to stand trial or defend themselves, they need to go through a process, which is very, very, very slow and difficult. And we are needing to work diligently to improve this complex system. And much of it happens or is complicated by state systems that we have very little control over here in Whatcom County. 15, advocate for state waiver to allow use of Medicaid funds to pay for medical and behavioral health services for incarcerated individuals. This change is so critical because the people providing services for people who are justice involved need to get paid to do so, and our Medicaid funds simply, for all sorts of complex reasons, don't appropriately pay for those services, and there are fixes on their way, and we are looking forward to improvements in the coming years.
Fantastic. Okay, Marty, would you go back to the diagram at the beginning? Peter, that was super impressive. That was amazing. Be able to like just describe each of those and help us make sense of them. And so I want to just take a moment to see, we have like 5 or 10 minutes from anything that you heard about the history of the Justice Project, kind of how the IPRTF and the Law and Justice Council and all these committees work, and then the implementation plan itself. You can see it's a really holistic plan, but it also has a huge amount of complexity to it. And our job is to try and figure out how we're going to really monitor and bring life to these conversations in a way that's going to add to things moving forward. It's not like nothing's moving forward. There's a lot that's moving forward, but to really make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable to the plan, and that also that we're able to share the results out to our community, right? So at this point, now you can take off the screen. I just want to get that sense of the comprehensive nature of it, and really well thought out as well. Do you guys have any questions at this point? Anything that you'd like to just understand a little better before we move on? Okay, so yeah, go ahead, Tasha.
So thank you, Peter, for that. And so I was just taking some notes. So like some of the points that we talked about, as far as how to collect data and effective metric, is that like what our focus is? We're developing that effective metric. Is that what you're, okay. Just wanted to, I didn't know if there was some already in the works and there was some I could read up on, or that's basically our purpose.
That's our purpose. So yeah, so the process is going to be figuring out how we're going to do that. Well, we have some ideas, but but yeah, you got it exactly. Other questions or comments that people want to share from what they were hearing that they think would be helpful?
Just a quick question. There was mention of clean and sober housing on DuPont Street. Do we have a name of that facility? Or is it a facility, or is it something we're looking at doing?
It goes by the name Recovery House. It was the old, if you've been here a while, it was the old social detox facility that was vacant for quite a while. Several $1 million of state money was acquired to rehab the building. It's 24/7 staffed, I think 16-person capacity.
Okay, the one Lifeline Connections, the 3.1.
Yeah.
Got it. I hear they're like not keeping very full. Their beds are pretty empty.
I don't have data on that myself.
Okay, we can dig into that later.
It's coordinated with, and I see Hannah may have information. It's coordinated with Recovery Court in part, although it's open to other referrals as well. Hannah?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit because I oversee our substance use disorder assessment program right now for doing the assessments with incarcerated individuals, and a lot of the assessments are, the outcome is for a 3.3 or a 3.5 level of care for substance use disorders, and the low intensity residential unit with Lifeline Connections is a 3.1. So it's a lower level of care that a lot of people are currently not meeting. So it's kind of hard to get referrals. And we've just recently had a change in management for the facility too. But now I think Alexis Ha is overseeing it and has done a great job to try and build up that census and continue to receive appropriate referrals from Recovery Court, the jail, and mental health court.
Great. Thank you, Hannah. That was really helpful. Other things people want to add, just clarify. Okay. Caleb, you got anything?
Sorry, I was doing business on the other side of the room. Did you have a question for me, or was that just want to know if I had any thoughts?
Anything to add? Yeah.
Well, one of the things that came up is point 15 is advocating for Medicaid for those who are incarcerated, and I think it's fairly good news on that front is that we are in cohort 1 of the 1115 demonstration waiver with the Health Care Authority of Washington State to get our incarcerated individuals enrolled or stay enrolled in Medicaid while they're in custody for up to 90 days of their incarceration. There are a number of milestones that are necessary to meet for us to be completely done with the project. But as we move forward, we anticipate that we will begin doing Medicaid enrollment as early as third quarter next year. There's a lot of moving parts, so I don't want to make promises, but that's kind of what we're targeting. So, so that is I think that's a really a good thing to celebrate in terms of having some significant progress on one of the items.
That's fantastic. Thanks for that update. Yeah, Stark. Oh, you're muted.
There we go.
There.
I had a question about the makeup of the JPOP, and I want to go back to I think it was point number 8 that Peter was making and stressing that diversion is such a huge part of this, both in terms of keeping the size of the facility down, but also keeping the criminal justice system somewhat under control going forward. And I can go into a variety of things that are headed our way that threaten to greatly expand the criminal justice system, in my view. But diversion is really critical, and I'm wondering, shouldn't there be a prosecutor on the JPOP, because we're never going to get any diversion without buy-in from the prosecutor's office.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm trying to think of what our list says right now. Do we have Barry or Marty? Do you have our list handy? Oh, JPOP representatives.
I don't have it right handy, but I know the planning team has talked about this. We brought this up on when we were talking about connecting people to the JPOP, and that came up as an important piece, is having the prosecutor at the table. So that's something that I think the council needs to look at to see if we need to add some seats. I mean, that's what this body's going to help determine as well. You know, what are we missing? Add to make it a more fulfilling process. The one thing I did want to add too, Holly, is one little detail that took place during the stakeholder advisory committee was our in-custody survey that we did of folks that were in the jail at the time. Do you recall the number of people that David was? It was over 100, wasn't it?
Who got surveyed? Who are in the jail right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was over 100 people filled out surveys that are the person that conducts the adult education portion. He's from the junior college, Skagit, or not Skagit, Whatcom Community College. And yeah, and he conducted a survey. He went in and did them in person and delivered those results, and we have that data in our stakeholder advisory committee process. So that was a real lived experience input that we got that was super valuable.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I think we're maybe going to do another too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to get into, you know, in the course of our work together, being able to look at what there's a way of thinking about what they call population outcomes and program outcomes. So population is like, what are the changes we want to see in our community? And program outcomes or measures are the programs that we have, are they working the way they were supposed to, that we want them to work? So that's one thing. It's like keeping track of all these moving parts, but also really being able to say, how is it working? Are we getting to where we want to go? That's the work of this group. So we're gonna shift and look over now at the charter, which really gets down to I think even what we were saying before, like, what's the purpose? What are we doing here? And if anybody needs to turn off their camera for a minute and stand up and stretch, now's a good time to just, we want people to be comfortable. It's a lot of sitting in this Zoom world. So feel free. Otherwise, what we're going to do is go through the role of the JPOP committee, then look at the charter and the rules of procedure and make sure we're all on the same page, because we are basically in charge of our processes, right? We are a group who gets to decide how this is going to go and what we do together. So all this has been informed by what was already in the resolution. But it's described, I think, in pretty nice layman's terms. So we want to just make sure we're on the same page. So let's go through those. So this is the charter, and this was in your packet. So you guys should have seen this already. But the JPOP is a standing committee of the IPRTF, and its purpose is to help the IPRTF, Law and Justice Council, monitor progress towards the goals of the Justice Project Implementation Plan. Right. And that's what established us in a county resolution. So that's the heart of it. Then the responsibilities that you can see here, which I won't read the screen because you can read and you saw it in your packet, are to do all these things. So serving as a forum. And so, like that question of, do we have the right people in the room, but also that we may have other people come and talk to us, right? It's not like there's this closed little isolated, body here. I mean, we are responsible, but we have the ability to also just learn from and incorporate the voices of others. So that's part of this idea of serving as a forum for people with lived experience and frontline workers to be engaged and give feedback. And then everything else that's up here. So when you look at this, and I'm assuming you read this in advance, how does this resonate for you? Does this make sense? Do you have anything that you think is missing or things that don't seem clear? Anything you're like, I did not sign up for this. Does it look like what you signed up for? Okay, give me a thumbs up, please. If this is working for you, you're on board. No questions at this point. Yes? Okay, great. Let's keep going then. Beautiful. All right. So the next sections of the charter address the membership, the composition, and our meeting format. So let's go to the next slide here. Oh, that's what we just did. I'm sorry, to go back. Was there anything else? We're not putting everything on this slideshow. When you looked at everything that was in your packet, was there anything else that you had questions about or concerns? Okay, then let's look at our rules of procedure. So these rules of procedure were the ones that we used when we did the stakeholder advisory committee that created the implementation plan. And so we thought they would be really appropriate for the JPOP as well. So number one, that diverse opinions are welcome. And in the SAC, Stakeholder Advisory Committee, we had a lot of diversity of opinion, but we still maintained a lot of civility and curiosity, and really making sure that the reason that we're here is because we have different perspectives. Otherwise, there would be no point to this group. So really, we want to hear different and lean into differences. And of course, treating others with respect, even when you disagree. And, yay for civil society. It may not be everywhere in the world, but we can make it here. The other thing is just to stay on topic and speak to the point as much as you can, because we really want everybody to be heard. And to save time, we avoid repeating ideas. So if it's been said once, you don't need to say it again because it's been heard, it's in the room. And staying in the room is just because of the reality of doing these meetings virtually. As much as possible, try to not do your email and your phone, right? Because it's really, if you're working from home and you got kids and things, that it's just going to be what it is. But in general, trying to stay with what's happening in the meeting and participating in balance. So sometimes I will ask for, oh, who hasn't spoken yet? And I'd really like to encourage, if you are a person who tends to not speak up, to speak up. And if you're a person who tends to really like to talk, try and just be discerning. Okay? Got it? How's that work for guidelines? Does that work? Yeah. Anything you want to add, change? All right. Thank you for your, when I can see you respond, I know we're on. Thank you for that. All right. So the next section of the rules address the committee leadership and the planning and facilitation. So this is kind of how we are going to work together. And so Marty, next slide, please. The quorum is 51%. We have most people here today, so that's awesome. This is a very simplified way of how we will make decisions. So when there's moments that we will make decisions, this is what it'll sound like. We'll have a motion and a second. We'll identify the points of unity. So it's a consensus building process, but we will still vote, right? So friendly amendments, call for vote on a final recommendation. It's a simple majority to pass. Simple just means 51% or more. And if there are any unresolved concerns, they're noted for the record. So if you come to the end and you've expressed your differences of opinion and you've identified some potential solutions, we'll try and work those in and we'll vote on that. If at the end of the day you are not in alignment, we still want to know what your concerns are that were not resolved. Got it? So it's a consensus-oriented process so that we really honor each person's voice. Okay, any questions about the voting procedure or concerns about that? All righty. Okay, we're doing great. Moving right along. Okay, the next sections of the rules address the schedule of meeting attendance, term limits, and resignations and terminations. So I don't have those all on slides, but do you have any questions about that? Right, we meet once a month and on a regular schedule. So this is what, the third Thursday? What am I doing here? Second Thursday? I should know this. I'm here now. What are we at, guys? Second or third Thursday?
Third.
Third Thursday. Excellent. Unless there's a change because of a holiday, but we'll all know. All right. And we do want everybody to be here for every meeting. If you can't be here, please send Marty an email. Just let her know that you're not going to be able to make it. So I'm not going to go through all of these because I assume you read them, but did you have any questions about the expectations? Nope. Okay, wonderful. Okay, next slide. So the committee leadership, the chair and the co-chairs, or co-chairs. We can just have one, or we can have two who can share the fun. So this is a moment for all of you to think, gosh, would this be fun for me? Would I really have an experience of joy and leadership? So let's go to the next slide here. Here's what you would do. If you decided, if you're feeling it, come up for you, like, yes. Okay, you would serve a term of 2 years. You'd be responsible for assisting Marty and I in setting the committee meeting agendas. And you'd serve as a liaison between the JPOP committee and the IPRTF LJC. So that means means a little bit more meetings, right? Because you would also, in addition to going to the JPOP meetings, these meetings, you would also go to the monthly IPRTF meetings. And those are, I want to say those are an hour and a half or 2 hours. Peter, what's the norm for that?
It's the monthly IPRTF steering committee meetings that they would go to.
Oh,
and
that's an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Yeah.
Got it. So did you catch that? To correct myself, there's the steering committee meeting, and that kind of sets the agenda for the well, because you're a committee chair, basically. So you go to those, and then the bigger IPRTF meetings are optional. And then, just like what Barry did today, where he formally opened and closed the meeting, that's also your job. You're efficient. You're an official person, so you would open and close, and you also get to rule on any changes to the agenda. That's the other part of your formal role. So, yes, Tasha, question.
When are those steering committee meetings? Are those once a month or?
They are once a month, also on the third Thursday, although I think there's some variability in that. Peter or Heather, do you want to?
Recently, it's been like it was today, so it's the third Wednesday or Thursday, excuse me, at 11 a.m.
Great. Other questions about the role of the chair and co-chairs or co-chair? Meaning we can have one person or two. Okay. So now that you know this isn't a commitment moment, but it's a question, do you feel like that? Is anybody here feeling like, yeah, that's something I would at least consider doing? Can I see it? If your hand is up, like at least I might consider it. Hannah Sloan and Richard Gleason. Anybody else feeling excited about this? And Tasha, thank you. Okay. So we'll reach out. Anybody else? Richard and Hannah Stone and Tasha? Okay. So Marty and I will reach out to the three of you after the meeting and just make sure you understand what the role is and that you're game. And then at the next meeting, we'll go ahead and we'll vote on the chair or co-chairs.
Okay.
Oh, thank you guys. That's so wonderful. All right, next steps. Here we go. Marty, can you do the next slide? All right. So the next meeting, what we're going to do to start this up is we're going to learn about the results-based accountability framework. So this is the model that the Whatcom Health and Community Services Department uses. The city of Bellingham, I believe also has used this or is currently using it. And it's a way of understanding where you're trying to go, right? What you're trying to achieve. And that means both in the population outcomes and program outcomes, which I mentioned briefly. So we're going to have a gal come in and she's really good at explaining how this system works, but this is going to be the foundation for when we talk about what is it, how are we going to come up with the measures and what are we going to measure? That'll help us understand so we have common language around that. What we're doing simultaneously to this is we're also doing some assessment of, so what data do we already have out there? So we kind of can meld those two together. What do we want to know? And what data do we have? And what gaps do we have in that? So this is going to be a lot of the next kind of meeting or two is getting ourselves, so we have a common understanding and then start the process of articulating those outcomes. So that's the big part of our work at the next meeting. Then we will also approve the charter and rules of procedure formally. So for all of you, if you could read it one more time and you have any other ideas, please email Marty and let her know so we can just make sure to get that on the agenda. And then we'll elect the chair or co-chairs. Okay, so that's the plan for our meeting in November. Any questions? Any requests? Okay. Wonderful. Well, again, we have some time then. It's 3:27. So let's hear from everybody. Just any thoughts you have about the composition of the committee that came up and any other questions or just hopes, things you'd like to request at this point. Yeah, Marty.
This is about committee composition. Just before this meeting, we had our substance use disorder treatment provider slot. The person who was going to represent that slot dropped off. And so we have a vacancy for that position. We're also lacking another position we need to fill. It's called a youth representative. This would be a person who's age 18 to 24. And ideally, someone who has a real interest, either personal involvement, maybe familial involvement in the criminal legal system. Maybe they just have a passion for that, for learning more about it. Maybe they've been involved in some way. If you know of somebody 18 to 24 who you think would be a good youth representative who could show up to monthly meetings and participate, we would really love to be referred to them. They either of these slots, any applicants would just need to fill out an application. So we just need to be connected with them to get them the information. So let us know. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Scott?
Who was the doctor that dropped out? I guess I would think that either Dr. Bosted or Dr. Cartman would be good folks to reach out to. So I'm not sure if it was either one of them before.
No, it wasn't. That it was a frontline provider from I think Lifeline. And I would love to get those names you just mentioned, Scott. So would you be able to email those to me and their email?
Sure will.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Hank?
So is it possible to get the link for that application? It's easier, I know, for me to send the person the information and trying to explain it all. If that's
Definitely. I'll send you that. And are you thinking about a youth representative? Because I have a whole write-up
yes,
about that. I'll send that to you. Thanks so much.
I second that too. Could you please send me just whatever packet you're sending? Share Tank.
Yes, will do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else want the lead? We have a specific email for recruiting a youth representative. Anybody else want that? Yep, Richard, great. And Hannah Sloan? Okay, we'll send that to you guys. Did you catch that, Marty? So both Richard and Hannah might have ideas. That would be great because we have been beating the bushes, let me tell you. So if you know of a youth, that would be wonderful. Okay, other thoughts? Yeah, Hannah.
Curious about the substance use vacancy. Do we want somebody who, I think what Scott was maybe mentioning was like a MAT provider, or do we want somebody who is like a substance use counselor? What kind of thing are we thinking?
I believe we want a frontline provider, somebody who's doing service delivery.
Yeah. So Hannah, if you know of anybody, that would be, it would be fantastic. Yeah, Doreen?
I think I can have because we have a youth council that we may be able to find a representative from there because they're only 18 to 24 also. And I was just thinking I can check with them to see if anybody from there may be interested.
Wonderful. I'll send you the recruitment email also, so you have all the information.
Wonderful, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter?
I just wanted to remind all of us who've been around these subjects for a good long time that we use so many acronyms and just assume people know what they are. And so perhaps we could have a reminder at the beginning, at least of the first few meetings, to remind us to stop and define things like MAT, which is medically assisted treatment. I mean, we all do this, not calling out Hannah, but it's just something I know that I struggled with throughout my first stakeholder advisory committee meetings. So thanks.
Great. Great suggestion. Thank you, Peter. Doreen, did you have another thing you wanted to share?
No.
Great, thanks. Pam?
Yeah, just if you could send me also I'm thinking of a chemical dependency provider that I would like to invite to consider this. So for that position.
Thanks, Pam. I'll send you some info.
And I know we've mentioned earlier about somebody from the prosecutor's office. Yes. So who would be in the position to follow up on that? Yeah, Barry, can you do that? Okay, terrific. Wonderful. Right. And any other on that same topic, are there any other, I don't know, representatives, groups that you think types of folks in our system that you're feeling like, oh, that part of our system is not well represented? Okay. Well, yeah, if something comes up, we'll get back to them. All right, so this is going to be a time then. Yeah, Peter.
Okay, one more thing. Since you're asking the question, it seems like Caleb Erickson, who is on the call today, but apparently is not part of the JPOP. Seems like that's a pretty important role. If he's happy to be here anyway, great. But anyway, he fulfills a very important position in all of this. So just a thought.
Well, Peter, I'll second that because I'm the one that invited Caleb to the meeting today because I did not see his name there. So I know that these positions were appointed and vetted, but I certainly think it's important through this process. If not appointed, but for the very least, maybe a proxy for me.
In case anybody's wondering, I'm willing. I just wasn't invited or appointed. So if it's as an official appointee or simply to consult with when you have questions, I'm available, or I can be invited and be here if need be.
Great. It's great having both of you here, and so thank you. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
How much?
Yeah, and we also have the same kind of relationship with the health department, with Health and Community Services. I'm just really appreciating having Health and Community Services here. Hannah Fisk has joined us today, and thank you so much, Hannah. And it's really very, very helpful, I think, to this group to have you here as resources, both of you.
Yeah, and also Iris, just having your presence here is really appreciated.
Yes.
Stephen and then Jason. Go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, just in terms of thinking about expanding membership on the committee, having been a part of the implementation planning team, having vetted the Vera Institute data on racial disparities, and also being part of the stakeholder group that helped develop the proposal for the Racial Equity Commission. There's a lot of weight on Miriam's shoulders and Chief Tanks as the only people of color I see on the screen, and Doreen. And I just would say, as we look to recruit people, that we're looking for people that represent the multiplicity of communities in Whatcom County as well.
I'm so glad you said that. I didn't want to be the one to say it, so I'm glad you said it. I'm already thinking about who in the commission, whose voice I feel like is missing in this space. I can already think of one of our commissioners, frankly, who's been working in the system for 30 plus years and has some really fantastic perspectives around what is needed for a longer term impact. And so I will be inviting him.
Great, wonderful. Yeah, if you feel like there's somebody who you really feel should be at the table, whether or not we need to formally appoint them is kind of secondary to let's get them in the room, you know? Okay, Jason? Jason, you're muted. There you go.
There you go. Sorry about that. Sort of echoing what Caleb said. I have not been formally invited to this meeting. Like I said, it's my second day. Mayor Lund forwarded me this Zoom link and asked me to attend. If you're willing to have me, I'd love to be a part of this committee going forward. So I don't know what I'd need to do to get on the email list just to receive those invites going forward, but whatever that would entail, I'd love to participate.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jason. Make sure that you email if you weren't on the list, make sure you email Marty, right? You must somehow have gotten that forwarded to you, correct?
Yeah,
Email.
it just came from Mayor Lund directly. She just forwarded me her invite. So I'll check that email for Marty's address.
Great, perfect. Great, Tasha?
Maybe I missed it. Is there anyone from like DCYF or CPS? I know they work with a lot of families that are impacted by the justice system, so I didn't know if there was any one specifically, or is that
What was the first acronym you used?
DCYF, Department of Children Family
Services, and then the second one was?
Child Protective Services, CPS, yeah.
CPS. I think I'm just going to make as a practice when we are using acronyms, just asking people to say what they are so we can all get, just more familiar with the acronyms. Like Peter said, there's a lot in this in this system. So, and to your question, Tasha, yeah, we don't have that representation that I'm aware of.
No, we don't.
Okay. So that might be another gap to fill. Great. Okay, anything else on the question of who's in the room? All right. So let's have, we do still have our 10 minutes at the end for public comment. But what I'd like to do is just invite that everybody have a moment to speak. So I'll just call on you. And so any closing comments, like just how you're feeling about it, anything you want to say of what would make this, more helpful and enjoyable for you. Yeah, any requests? So I'm just going to go around and anything you'd like to share at this point. So let's start. I'm going to start at the bottom. So let's see. Scott, anything you want to say to close out?
No, I'm just excited again to get going on this work and see if we can't make the community a little bit better, and the folks that are coming back in reentry, just make them, have them be human beings and get back to the lives and help them rebuild.
Thank you. Great. Miriam?
I'm excited to be here. It feels like a privilege to be in shared space with you all and really coming up with long-term impactful solutions. And so I will be inviting folks to join us, whether it be officially as a committee member, however that needs to work out, or as members of the public so that they're kept informed. So be ready for me to just bring in a bunch of folks and allow them, or through themselves also to be able to speak to this. And also I'm here to learn. I just wanted to say that. So I'm excited. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Miriam. That's awesome. Peter?
We have a large group in this committee, and I know that we couldn't all fit in the conference room, but I do want you to know that you can attend this meeting at the conference room in the council offices. Is that what it's called, Barry? I couldn't do it today, but I try to attend every meeting I possibly can in that conference room, just in case somebody else might show up, because interesting conversations happen in person that simply can't in Zoom world. So I would encourage you to consider it.
Great. Thank you, Peter. Great suggestion. And Marty, go ahead.
Thanks, Peter, but I'm gonna just qualify that. The conference room space is very limited. And the expectation is that we're going to be in the Zoom space, but we really want to make sure everybody has access to Zoom, and that's why that conference room is available. If you are planning to use the conference room space, it'd be super helpful if you actually let us know ahead of time, because it is space limited. And we would need to come up with a different venue if everybody started deciding they wanted to be in person. So let's keep in communication about that. Thanks.
Okay, Dan, I'd like to hear from you next because you have your cat. So one thing about doing on Zoom is we get to meet each other's pets. So Dan.
Thank you. Appreciate it. This is Oscar. Not my cat. We're cat sitting for our son. He's very interested in the conversation, clearly, so that's good news. I just thought that the last few comments about making sure that we're including some of the folks that Tasha had recommended, and making sure that we have racial equity folks representatives, very important to me. But I am looking for this a great group of people, and we have a tremendous body of work to do, and there's a great outline that we can follow. So just looking forward to it. So thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Great. Okay, Roman. Any closing comments?
Hey, sorry, you guys. I'm talking to somebody, but yeah, no, pleasure to be here, you guys. Thank you guys for all you guys' time and everything like that. I just had a comment in regards to the chair. I was wondering if it's kind of like my input. I think there should be 2 of them. That's just from me, but no, thank you guys for your time. I'm glad to be here with you guys.
Great. Thank you. And thanks for that suggestion too. Okay, Rob.
Thank you for the invite. Thank you for the time. Just really looking forward to working with everybody to benefit our citizens and members who are reentering our society in Whatcom County.
Here. Thank you. Iris?
Yeah, I think it's just exciting to be a part of the meeting and see how this progresses from the start. I started in February, so I'm kind of coming in a little bit late, but not as new as Jason. So he's on the first days. So looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you. Glad you're here. Caleb, closing comments?
I'm excited to be here again. I appreciate being, nominated if that's the thing to be a part of this and moving forward. Even if I'm not officially a part, I'll still try and do my best to attend. Looking forward to have Frank Lee involved. So hopefully we get a lot of peer pressure to get him involved, because it's always good to have him. And it is really good to look around and see all the great collaboration in this space. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Doreen?
Thank you. I do appreciate being appointed into this, and I'm really looking forward to moving forward with everything that is discussed. And yes, I'm very happy to be part of this and to be able to, and I believe in transparency and sharing the words with the community and everything, because it is their input that we need to support and find. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Hannah Sloan?
I don't think I have anything except for thank you. I'm excited to get to know more of you and to continue working with those of you that I've been working with over the past couple of years on similar projects. And then I'll second Roman's suggestion of definitely having 2 chairs. I think this is a big project, and we want to make sure it can be managed appropriately.
Great. Thank you. Jake?
Yeah, I think this is a really good start, and I'm excited to meet and hear new ideas. Well, I'm excited to meet the people here that I haven't met before. And one thing about meeting new people is that you do hear new ideas and innovative ideas. So every person is valued. So I look forward to that.
Okay, thank you. Pam?
Yes, thank you, everybody. Super excited to be here. I'm wondering if we feel like we have a good representation of lived experience. Do we have anybody who's recently unhoused or is still unhoused? If there would be maybe some room for that voice to be at the table. But yeah, other than that, I think it's all sounds like we're ready to do some good work, and I'm excited to be part of that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Pam. And I saw Richard, you raise your hand. Fantastic. Awesome. You want to share your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I am pretty new to all this. I will say, somebody that has been and had to deal with every aspect of everything that we're talking about or overseeing. It's nice to be involved and hopefully make a difference where the system falls short or has fallen short in the past. I think this is a great opportunity to do something that's never been done before.
Wow. Right on. Great. Hannah Fisk?
Yeah, I'm just really excited to hear what everybody's been doing on this project. I think, coming from health, I know that there's been a lot of work on this side being put forth, and I just know that there's other bodies that are also doing a lot of work towards this implementation plan, and getting to hear that and get the collective response and feedback to all of that work, I think is super important. So I'm just really looking forward to hearing those thoughts and the vision moving forward.
Fantastic. Thank you. Tasha?
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking forward to working with everyone. I appreciated the charter where everybody has a voice and it's encouraged to have a difference of opinion and then find a place where we meet together in that. And so I'm really looking forward to this. I did have one thought, and I'm trying to remember the rules. Peter mentioned getting together in the conference room or being in person. Is there a set point when there's too many of us in the same room and it's not officially a meeting that we're violating something? Okay, because I was like, I'd love to just go out and have dinner because I think when we break bread, then we just get to know each other on a personal level. But then I also recognize there's rules to that too.
Yeah, 51% is the quorum, so that's people, anything above that is illegal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Tasha, you've spoken what Marty often will say. It would really be good if we were all in a room eating together, right? So somehow maybe we can make that happen while still honoring the OPMA.
Tasha, this is just an aside. Is your last name Thompson?
Yeah, Dyser Thompson. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so thank you. I just hadn't gotten that and I need it. Thanks.
Okay. So Scott, I think maybe you started the round. I can't remember now. I think
I did. I started.
Okay. Great. And then Jason, did you have any other comments you'd like to make?
Just again, that I'm excited to be here. I knew that I'm being involved in this project. It was in the job description that I read before I even interviewed. So I went ahead and printed off the plan and read it just to prepare. And so it's been a couple of months now. I've been trying to familiarize myself with this, and now to see some faces to put along with it and to actually be involved with the planning and stuff going forward is pretty exciting. So I'm glad to be here.
So glad. Okay, well, we're at that period for open public comment technically, and some of the people who aren't formally on the committee has spoken. So I know that I want to let Barry and Stephen and Peter also speak, but I just want to create space for that open public comment. So is there anybody here from the community who would like to speak who hasn't had a chance? Okay. So then Stephen and then Peter and then Barry, and then we'll wind up. So Stephen, closing comments from you.
Thanks, Holly. I can't tell you how many meetings and informal conversations I've been a part of leading up to this. And yet I look here and there are so many new faces and people with new perspectives stepping forward to participate in this. And so it's very exciting to see some people who have been waist deep in this stuff for years, and people who care enough about it to volunteer their time. And I know each of you brings with you a whole network of people you interact with, and so the multiplier effect of your presence is really valuable, and something I very much appreciate.
Thank you, Stephen. Peter?
I guess what I'd like to say is that there are a lot of us who on this call who are in a lot of meetings, and we're very used to all these sorts of conversations and such. And this is really, my statement is for those who are not. Usually in things like this, it might be new to you. I really want you to feel comfortable, and if there's anything I or we can do to make you comfortable, to speak your mind, this is such an important part of this whole odyssey that we've been on for years, that you guys are here and you are in the room to help us to understand all the perspectives. So whatever I can do, whatever we can do to make you comfortable and speak your mind, that's what I like. So thanks.
Thanks, Peter. Well, and I really want to say, having, seen you come into your role as the co-chair of the IPRTF, your commitment is really clear. And I really appreciate you, just holding that vision that we can have a really inclusive, powerful process here. So thank you for that. Okay, Barry, want to wind us up?
Well, thanks, Holly. And great job as usual, Holly and Marty. I appreciate you guys so much. And, I've worked with them since the beginning of the Justice Project. They went along with me to all those listening sessions throughout the county so many years ago. So it's such a pleasure to work with you. I just want to say this, like I said earlier, it's such a great collection of folks, and ideas I can tell are going to flow from this group are going to be so valuable. But I just want to say my appreciation for you being here today, and in the future. It's not going to be easy all the time. It's not going to be overnight. It's going to be a long slog, but we're in it for the long haul. We're in it for improving, the lives of our county citizens and equity. And we have to be mindful of all the things that these voices bring to our discussion. So I welcome you, and we will see you again next month. We are adjourned.
Yay. Okay, bye.